Racism harms people. It harms people's identity and self-esteem, their participation in public life, their opportunity to access employment, education and housing, and their health and well-being. Left unchecked, it leads to violence. December's anti-Semitic terror attack at Bondi was a horrific manifestation of prejudice and hatred. 15 people murdered, including a 10-year-old girl, for celebrating their faith and their culture. Then in January, we had a homemade bomb thrown into a crowd of Aboriginal people and allies in Perth in an alleged terror attack. In February, we had a man in Western Australia arrested for an alleged terror plot to target mosques, police and the West Australian Parliament, apparently driven by white supremacist ideology. These attacks send shockwaves through the affected communities. When we fail to protect a minority group from harm, we fail as a nation.
I just want to say real quick before we continue on with this video that I want y'all to take a deep look at Australia, deep look at how Europe and Spain colonized the Americas, and then take a deep look at how Australia took that whole playbook and did that to the Aboriginals. When you hear these clips, I want you to look at and think about, damn, that sounds like the same shit that happens in America. That sounds like the same shit that happens to the Aboriginal people over here. You know what I mean? I want you to really think about this, because it's not just happening to us. This is happening all around the world. Even in Asia, those dark-skinned Asians that were there before those light-skinned Asians were there are being pushed off their land. You know what I mean? Their land is being taken, killed. You know what I mean? Looked at differently. You know what I mean? The government stealing their shit, taking their rights away. Same shit is happening everywhere to all our people. Those are all our people, although they might not see it. We're not the same. I'm not saying we're the same. I'm not saying we're all African. African is a continent. Yeah, we came from Africa. Everybody migrated out from the center of the world, which was Africa. But we're not all African. You know what I mean? We migrated out. We started our own civilizations. We became our own people. You know what I mean? And that's just that. So don't ever let them try to tell you that it's not that, because it really is. You know what I mean? But let's keep going.
Why is Australia so racist? I have a theory, and I just want to say at the beginning as a disclaimer, this is not excuses, it's just a theory. But I think if you compare Australia to, say, somewhere like New Zealand, which is very similar and very close in proximity, the biggest difference between Australia and New Zealand is the original settlers of New Zealand went there by choice. They wanted to go to New Zealand. The original settlers of Australia were forced to come here. Everyone knows the story. The crimes in which you had to commit in order to be transported to Australia were pretty minimal. Nothing there is extreme. So all you had to do was just steal something, and you were put on a boat for 6 months, and you were transported all the way here. And then after that, you were forced into hard labor for, say, 5 years or something like that. And then after that, you were given a block of land. But you're not coming out of that experience a very well-adjusted person. There would be a lot of trauma. There would be a lot of dependency on alcohol. And as such, the people that came out of that experience didn't really have a lot of empathy for Aboriginal people. I think that they just wanted to get on with their lives, and they did whatever was necessary for their properties to thrive. And unfortunately, that meant doing some awful things to Aboriginal people. I mean, that's just one of the theories. I think our whole country is built on trauma, and that is why alcoholism is so bad, racism is so bad, drug abuse is not as bad as the United States or Canada, but pretty bad, and people end themselves at such a high rate in Australia. I just think there's lots of unresolved trauma. And a good lion's share of that trauma belongs to the Aboriginal people. Again, this is not like tit for tat. I'm not saying because the original settlers of Australia experienced some bad things, therefore, we're all on an even playing field. We're not. But it's just an explanation. I don't think Australians are inherently evil. I don't think, because Australia as a country is only 250 years old, so it's not like we've evolved. It's obviously a cultural thing, and that culture is built on our history, and our history is built on oppression and just people doing the worst things to each other, and that's left a pretty black mark on our country. And I do love Australia, and I want Australia to be the best country it can be, but in order for us to move forward, we need to work out where all this hurt is coming from and how we're going to heal it. But I'm interested to hear what you think. Why do you think Australians are racist?
I wish someone had told me that being a black woman in Australia pursuing a career in healthcare is the exact same as a death sentence, is the exact same as being stoned on the street. I wish someone would have told me, because not only did I experience the most atrocious treatments because of my skin, I also got to see other people being treated like that in the spaces that I was working in. So story time, this was around the year of 2024, December 2024. This was, I believe, my second placement overall. So I was allocated to a palliative facility, right? And in your second year, there are some things that you're not allowed to do. I would like to believe that a lot of the things that I experienced at this particular facility was because, number one, nurses are overworked, they're stressed and underpaid, right? Who am I? A random student. I can't provide you with anything. I'm there to learn. A lot of my skills are still developing. I'm essentially in the way. I like to give them that, right? But anyways, at this particular facility, I was 1 out of 2 students. And the very first thing that I used to notice at this facility was how they would greet me. I would come onto shift, whether it was morning or afternoon, and I'd go straight to the nursing station to show myself and greet everyone and be like, hey, I'm going to be the nursing student for the day. Who am I allocated to? A lot of the times when I presented myself to the nursing station, number one, they would literally look me up and down and ignore me. I'd come and I'd be like, hey guys, and I'd try to greet someone and they wouldn't greet me back. That should have been my first red flag, because when the white girl came and she greeted people, she was given a warm welcome. People would be like, oh my gosh, hey, how are you? And I'd be sitting there like, did I miss something? Maybe there was something on the placement documentation that said niggas are not allowed to speak. Maybe, who knows? Anyways, cool. So now it's week 3 and I'm allocated with this Karen nurse, I would say. We're in the room taking care of a patient. The one thing that I always held dear to my heart was, if I was going to experience something racist, it would be from the patient, not from the nurse that is working with me. That is something that I always up here. I was like, yep, if something racist is going to happen, it's going to be from the patient. So we're in this particular patient's room. Like I said, it's December, Brisbane, Southeast Queensland. It's hot. It's summer. So we're in this patient's room and she's like, oh, it's a bit hot. Can you turn on the fan for me, love? I go to turn on the fan and my own nurse turns around and she asks me if in Africa, do we have like a measuring system for the heat? Because she doesn't think we know Fahrenheit or Celsius, or if we have something else. So I look at her and I say, I'm sure we probably use degrees. Anyway, so she continues to say, oh, but I know in Africa it's really hot. Do you guys have a different measuring system? Do you guys know like what a measuring system is? I completely ignore her. And guys, please forgive me. At the time when these things were said to me, it was always like a one-off situation. It was never something that was like all in one go for me to be like, oh, that's racist. No, it was like small things like that. And to back up that point as to why I believe this nurse was racist, regularly when we would have conversations, instead of asking me things like, what are your interests? Where do you plan on going as a nurse in the future? What's your career direction? She'd ask me things like, oh, how did you manage to get into this placement? How did you pass your English test? What documentations did you provide? Anyways, besides that, there were days where everyone's just around the nursing station, whether it's like a shift change or handover, and the conversations always circulated around my appearance, my hair, the size of my lips, the chocolatey of my skin. Oh, your skin is so dark. Are you so dark and beautiful? Those sort of comments, right? And one would say, red flag, red flag, red flag, that's racist. But at the time, given my stupidity and ignorance towards racism in healthcare, I just thought it was like banter. I thought it was banter. Anyways, it was one shift where sitting down at the nursing station and I was reading over the patient's notes, going through their charts, just trying to find something to do because no one wanted to give me something to do. And the nurse comes to sit next to me and she's like, oh, when's your next placement? Like at the time, I was scheduled to go to my next placement next year, maybe January. And I tell her, oh, my next placement is mental health at the Belmont Hospital. I think it's a private hospital or something like that. I never went, clearly, I failed. But after I tell her what my next placement is, she was like, you're never gonna make it there. I'm just letting you know. And when she said this, it went shwim. It went over my head. My head was aerodynamic. It just went yim. I was looking at her like, and I left it. And I never said anything after that. And then she looked at me again. She was like, no, I'm serious. You're not making it to your next placement. And when she was saying this, I was like, what do you mean? Anyway, fast forward, it is now the last week of the placement. I was with a particular nurse. She's like, oh, the nurse unit manager wants to speak to you. Lo and behold, the nurse unit manager is the same nurse who told me I was not going to make it to my placement. I go to the nurse unit manager and she's like, oh, I want to have a quick meeting with you, touch base on how the placement has gone. So now I'm in this meeting with the nurse unit manager, another nurse, and someone from my university. And I recognize that person from my university. And I'm like, oh, like, hello, hi, everyone. Anyways, so they sit me down and they slide me a sheet that says, oh, we're not going to sign you off. Like, you're not going to pass. I'm hearing this for the first time and I'm thinking, it's the last day. The last day of placement, you guys are sitting me down. So I asked them, what is it that I have done? What did I do? Is it a skill issue? Is it competency? Is it performance? Let me know. Anyways, she goes on to say, oh, a lot of the nurses feel like you're very intimidating. You didn't really greet anyone when you came onto shift. You were always rolling your eyes. You're very aggressive. Imagine a 19-year-old black girl, right, being told that you're aggressive, being told that you're rude, that you're always rolling your eyes, and so on and so forth. And I'm looking at them like, I don't think I've ever done such a thing. At best, I've attempted to greet other people, but they completely ignore me. So I want to know in which way I was, disrespectful. And then my own facilitator from the uni looks me in my eyes and says, that's bullshit. 19-year-old me, woe is me. I'm sitting there, I'm looking like, huh? I'm taken aback. And she goes, oh, don't roll your eyes. And she's like, that's bullshit. Look at you rolling your eyes right now. It was like an out-of-body experience. Out-of-body experience. And then she goes on to say, a lot of the nurses reported that your hair was very distracting. It was not workplace friendly. It was too long. It was too large. Guys. And at the time, those things didn't register. They did not register. I don't know why they didn't. They just didn't register. I just never spoke about it because I always related the racism to a fault of my own. And I think that's what racism does. When you experience racism, you blame yourself. And especially being in healthcare where it's competitive, where it is about your performance, where it is about your competency and your skill, you relate that treatment to your own performance. So I never wanted to conclude that it was racism. As someone who's Black, you have to outperform everybody. You have to know everything and more. You have to know the content and some. I feel like I have to do 120% just to be recognized, just to be seen as bare minimum, just to be seen as competent. And that was something that was evident in all placements that I attended, through the treatment, through the way people assessed me, through their judgment of me, even during OSCEs, even during like assessment pieces where you have to like low-key do like the simulation. I always saw it. And like at the end of that placement, it never really hit me that I failed due to someone else's perception of me on a racial level. It was when I went into nursing as a Black woman, I genuinely felt like people hated me. I'd go home after a shift and I'd question my own ability to perform, my own ability to be a nurse. But I had to constantly remind myself that this is not about my capability. This is not about my performance level. This is not about my competency or skills. Because I showed myself time and time again that this is something that I can do. I would not have made it this far if it was a competency or skill issue. But racism is one powerful destroyer. Like, breaks apart your self-esteem and you question your identity. And that's just not something that I wish for the upcoming generation of Black girls, Black boys who are going to pursue careers being doctors, lawyers, all these big things. And they're going to feel like they can't do it because of their skin color. And that's disgusting. Like, as a white person, I'd be like embarrassed. I'd be so embarrassed. And Australia is very embarrassing because why is racism something that is so overlooked? So overlooked. So overlooked. We have to change.
Everyone who was born as an Aboriginal person in Australia now has been here as long as I have. It's both our country, and let's find a way to honour Indigenous history and white Australian history, bring it together. Never forget the atrocities of the past, but at some point you have to go, okay, what
anyone that's
do?
alive now, it's not their actual fault.
No,
you know?
What can we do though to work out all the shit that's happened, because there is enormous amounts of shit that's happened, but what can we do to move forward?
When someone says it's no one's fault, I'm always weary of that. People have decisions and we are responsible, myself included. When he said, everyone who is born in this country, it's not their fault, like it just happened. No, if someone passes down their thoughts or systematic oppression or even laws or policies down and it benefits a certain type of people and you continue with that because you get the advantage of that, you are part of the fault process now. You are part of the problem. Now, it might be willingly, unwillingly, subconscious, consciously, whatever, doesn't matter. You are benefiting from it. And if it's pointed out to you and you don't want to look at it, then it's even more your fault because you're trying not to see it, to be like, oh, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. It's not your fault that you're Indigenous and you're in this land. And it's not my fault that my forefathers colonized this land and I get the benefit. It's no one's fault. I don't think they fully said it with that malice, but let's put everything into light if we're trying to make it a better place, like they were saying, okay? One thing I do like they have that sort of proactivity and actually having the conversation being like, hey, let's get to a place where we can work together. In other words, we ain't leaving. Look, I know my forefathers and this and that did some major atrocities, but I ain't going anywhere because I don't have anywhere else to go and I want to stay here because I consider it to be mine, even though it was taken, which is a rough thing to hear someone say. But to a degree, it's the reality. If I'm an Indigenous person, hearing that would be like, so you're just coming into my house and you're saying it's yours now, but you want us to work together? Not many people would take that deal. You only have to take that deal because you're forced to take that deal, right?
I knew many of you wouldn't like what I said last night about booing at Anzac Day dawn services, but I'm here to tell you what I think, not to try to reinforce what others think. Many of you have reached out to me, and most of you say that while you opposed the Welcome to Country, you wouldn't have booed. Good. Then you agree with my central point. As I said, whatever you think of the Welcome to Country, it was disrespectful to boo it. Nobody should have booed. It was disgraceful. I'm pleased, but not surprised, that the overwhelming majority of our viewers agree they wouldn't boo. But I do want to correct a common misconception peddled by many about welcomes to country. They are not welcoming you to your country. They are not welcoming you to Australia. People who run that line are wittingly or unwittingly spreading a divisive mischaracterisation. These ceremonies are welcoming you to the lands of a particular Indigenous group or tribe. They are a welcome to everyone there, including other Indigenous people from other lands, other language groups, other country. So a welcome to country done properly, we all know that sometimes people can over-politicise them, but a welcome to country done properly doesn't alienate anyone, it doesn't divide anyone, it's inclusive. Just like welcome to Queensland or welcome to Kelly Country or welcome to the Barossa. Only an Indigenous welcome is deeper, more meaningful and historic. These traditions, new or old, only add to our history and our culture. They take nothing away from anybody. Viewers in New Zealand would be able to tell us about how Maori culture is included on Anzac Day. The Kiwis tend to do this stuff very well. So when it comes to welcomes to country, no one demands that everyone else be enthusiastic. That's your prerogative to treat them how you like. But objecting and booing, that's being divisive. Noel Pearson famously distilled our great national story down to 3 pillars, and this formulation has been enthusiastically embraced by Tony Abbott and others. We are a country of Indigenous heritage, British institutions and immigrant culture. The diggers, be they Indigenous, Australian-born or immigrant, they fought for and defended the lot, that whole wonderful triumvirate. They fought to preserve a country made up of Indigenous heritage, British institutions and immigrant culture, and they still do. And for that, I'm forever grateful.
The reason why we're here is because our friends fought and died in this country. Blood, sweat and tears, like 100%, like their ancestors did. Whether this is the time and place for it, I don't know. So I believe people are entitled to their opinions.
Of course people are entitled to their opinions.
Well, time and place.
That's exactly what I came to ask you.
The same as the welcome to the country. Is it the right time and place today for it? As a veteran, I don't think it is. And I have a lot of veteran mates that haven't come today solely because of the welcome to the country. Because our friends have died for this country, for this soil, and for them to be welcomed is a slap in the face. And you need to see it from a different perspective.
No, I'm not disagreeing with. I'm not saying that there aren't people that feel that way. What I'm saying to you is to get up there and boo in the middle of what is a sacred ceremony is going to be seen by a lot of people as disrespectful.
Yes, but that's where we, as Australians and you as the media, need to tell the right story. Like, yes, it was disrespectful, but these are the reasons why people are not agreeing with it. Because it's not the right time or place for it.
But not the right time and place for what?
For both. For the welcome to the country and for the bully. Both are not the right time or place.
So what you're saying is everything's wrong here. You're not happy with anything.
I agree with the whole service, but the welcome to the country and the bully. It's, as I said, it's not right. The welcome to veterans, World War II, just listen about all the people that have died in this country. For them to welcome us in this country is disrespectful.
Well, thank you for talking to me. My name's
I hate the welcome to country. As a tribal person, why welcome every other bastard on country when I, as an Aboriginal person, have never felt welcomed on my own ground? On my own dirt, never been welcomed. Welcome everyone in to continue to take. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? We see welcome to countries in Canberra for policymakers then to go and institute rations cards or to finance fossil fuel companies against the wishes of Indigenous peoples like Middle Arm. I've seen Uncle Richard Fijo here, and knowing that the government is pursuing gas expansion against the wishes of the Larrakia. They're passing deep sea dumping bills, which enables gas expansion against the wishes of the Tiwi traditional owners, fracking in the Beetaloo Basin. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, how undignifying is that, to think that you are obliged to provide safe passage to welcome people when you don't even feel safe or sound on your own soils, when you are trampled on. And I think within that question that calls for paucity, and within that paucity there's possibility.
To the people who booed during the Welcome to Country at the Anzac Day services yesterday, I just want to say congratulations, because you've managed to co-opt a national day of mourning and recognition for the brave servicemen and women, both First Nations and not, and used it to push your own racist political agenda. Because instead of focusing on the contributions and sacrifices of those soldiers and those service people, the media and the rest of Australia are now focusing on you. Hope you're happy. The Welcome to Country is literally the baseline amount that we can do as a country to show recognition and respect to traditional landowners. Because in a country where First Nations peoples don't have the same access to healthcare, education, food safety, in a country where more than 630 First Nations peoples have been murdered in custody, literally the baseline amount that we can do as a country is show some respect and recognition for the traditional landowners via the Welcome to Country. And what's irritating is that the Welcome to Country is literally one of the only things that Australia Australia has been able to implement with any sort of degree of success that actually shows that due respect, acknowledgement, and recognition. And now they want to take that away too. Now, I am unfortunately unsurprised by what happened yesterday because it is a well-known fact that Australia has always had a racism problem, especially towards its First Nations people. But this racism issue has gotten so much worse in the last 5 years. So much so that Parliament is currently holding a parliamentary inquiry into racism and violence against First Nations peoples. Now, the Deputy Prime Minister came out yesterday to condemn these bullyings, which is amazing. But I can't help but feel there's a bit of a double standard happening here. Because how can you condemn everyday Australians for their racism while the government historically has upheld racist laws, continues to facilitate environments where deaths in custody can happen, and cannot enact a federal treaty with its First Nations people despite many other Commonwealth nations being able to do so? Because the truth of the matter is that the government cannot act shocked that these racist attitudes are being expressed by its constituents. Because baby, who do you think they learned it from? To the people who booed during the Welcome to Country at the Anzac Day services yesterday, I just want to say congratulations, because you've managed to co-opt.
Open the schools. Like, just open the schools. There's picture books about this. Straight up, there's no excuse. Open the schools. And like, I know this is to some degree a complicated issue, because obviously moving forward, we should never be in a position where like people feel compelled or feel like they have to do military service in order to show loyalty for their country and to earn their belonging, because we should all just belong. But like, looking back, this is a well-documented, extensively documented thing that Australia did as a country to its First Nations service people. Like, open the schools.
I'm trying to understand those of you who booed Welcome to Country at yesterday's Anzac Day services. You think Anzac Day is a day to remember our fallen soldiers, and Welcome to Country distracts from that. You think Anzac Day is a more than century-old solemn commemoration, no place for modern identity politics. You think Anzac Day is a day for national unity, and that Welcome to Country divides us. Now let me tell you what I think. Anzac Day is a day to remember our fallen soldiers, all of them. Indigenous Australians have served and have fallen in every conflict since Federation. In World War I and World War II, more Indigenous Australians enlisted as a proportion of population than non-Indigenous Australians, even though they weren't recognised as citizens. Anzac Day is a solemn commemoration. You broke that solemnity. Welcome to Country is solemn too, a modern expression of a far more ancient protocol that expresses our complete history. You broke that solemnity too. You interfered with it, bringing your own identity politics. Anzac Day is a day for national unity, but unity does not mean sameness. It means bringing together different and unique experiences for a shared purpose. You broke that unity. You are the ones who divided us. World War I was when Australia matured, yet you have regressed to an adolescence, to a time before adolescence, to childishness, because you can't get your way. Don't you think it's time you grew up? Otherwise, the rest of Australia will march on while you whinge and straggle behind. Out of step.
South Australian comedian Alex Shooter Williamson has been slammed by an Aboriginal commissioner for exploiting the alleged murder of 5-year-old Kumanjai little baby for cheap laughs. The comedian, who labels himself Australia's loosest bloke, posted a deeply disturbing skit to his social media this week, making light of the young girl's tragic death. Commissioner for Aboriginal Children and Young People Dale Aegis said the video was cruelty dressed up as a joke and racism dressed up as comedy. It was not humour, it was not in service of any worthy cause, Mr. Aegis said. It tells Aboriginal children and their families that their lives, their deaths and their grief are sport for others' entertainment, he said. This comes as Williamson was suspended indefinitely and deregistered by the Willunga Football Club, who labelled the post deeply offensive. Alex Williamson has been contacted for comment. While he is yet to respond, he has stayed active on social media, sharing a news post to his Instagram story with the caption, "Bah ha 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 ha, this headline is a proper spin-out. Closest I feel to playing AFL."
So, y'all tell me, do y'all see the similarities in the struggles that we go through and the struggles that they go through? Do you see the similarities in the racism that those people out there put onto those people? Do you see the similarities in the things that happen to comedians' jokes, to them booing an Aboriginal, welcoming them, doing a welcome to their land, to the healthcare system and the black lady trying to get in the healthcare system and telling her she's too intimidating? She rolls her eyes. She has an attitude problem. Does any of this sound familiar? They're doing this shit to all of us all around the world. You know what I mean? They're doing this shit to all of us all around the world, whether you're Mexican, whether you're black, whether you're Native American, whether you're Aboriginal from the Caribbeans, whether you're Aboriginal from Africa that still lives in Africa, whether you're Aboriginal from the Philippines or China, they've been doing this shit to us forever, and they continue to do it. That's why this global system is set up to where they all work together to keep us out the loop. You know what I mean? They all work together because they know that, truthfully, this land don't belong to none of us. That's why, although the Chinese and the whites and all the different type of whites, like the Germans and the French and the Spaniards and the British and the Chinese, the Russians, all these motherfuckers, all of these motherfuckers, even the Mexicans, not the Mexicans, not the, yeah, well, really the Mexicans, not the true indigenous ones from of the land, not the Aztecs, the Mayans, not those people who come from there, but the people who come from Spain, whose blood has been cleansed with Spanish blood. They stand with it too, because they don't want their continent getting taken back either. So Australia to everywhere, bro. Everywhere this is a problem. It's the same playbook that they're using on all of us. But we also busy looking at oil prices here and this here and trying to survive. We all stuck in survival mode, and they keep it like that for a reason. You wonder why the wages ain't been raised. You wonder why they don't do anything to fix the healthcare system. You wonder why we live through all this bullshit when it seems like any normal human being would want the best for humanity. Like, any normal human being should want the best for humanity, but it seems like a lot of these motherfuckers don't. You know what I mean? They don't even care about humanity. They're not human. We have been invaded. I think the whole not all, but a large majority of the white species is not from this planet. And if they are from this planet, they are a fucking abomination. Because look at the things they do across the world. There's some good ones. There's some ones who have gained a soul, I would say, and can understand. But a lot of these motherfuckers don't have a soul. They don't look at human as human rights. And I see it starting to rub off on my people with the FBA movement. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck everybody else then. Everybody want to say fuck us, and I agree with that 100%. Everybody in the world has said fuck us. Everybody in the world has joined in on white supremacy against us. If you can't beat them, join them. That's the mindset that the whole world has took. All the oppressed people around the world, not all, but a large majority. But then you got us, who's the only ones sitting back like, fuck this shit. Why we the ones on their back. We the ones having these protests, Black Lives Matter. We the ones still raving and ramming about the system. When you hear white people saying, who's the biggest annoyance in America? They gonna say us, because we ain't letting you motherfuckers live, nigga. We ain't finna let it go. We ain't letting shit go till we get justice, nigga, till we get peace, boy. So at the end of the day, that's why we are the people who everybody envies. They love us because we fight for their freedom. Us fighting for our freedom is fighting for your freedom. And injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So when we fighting, it's helping you. And it might be in a slight way. It might just be opening an eye or two. It might be laws here change laws where you live. It might be us celebrating Black history and giving globally people around the world a reason to be proud to be Black in a world where it's been, if you're Black, you should be completely ashamed. You should be trying to bleach your skin. That's how they got it set up. But we give people that sense of pride, that sense of fight back, that sense of hate. And it's not just us. There's a few groups around the world who do the same thing. I'm not saying it's just us. But those Iranians, not them. They do the same shit. You know what I mean? They on the same team. They helped enslave us. They helped put us in chains. That's why, although the white man fucking them up, they won't help us. They won't try to help us, but they will release Lego videos trying to get us to go against our government. Trying to get us out in the streets in America, trying to tell the truth, trying to slip the truth in to their Lego videos, basically telling Trump, like, you keep it up, nigga, we gonna keep telling all them niggas all the truth about where they really come from. Keep it up. That's a whole psychological war that's going on that a lot of Black people don't see with these Lego videos, bro. That Iran is literally trying to let Trump know that we'll blow the lid off all this shit. Fuck it. We'll tell the truth. We'll tell the truth about history, and we'll tell the truth about who you are. And we'll tell them the truth about who they truly are. And we'll see how America really reacts. And they already been doing that. It's just that some people are so dumb that they don't, you could be Black, hear the message that they putting out there about this is your land, this is where you come from, and you'll still be like, no, it can't be true. You know what I mean? Like, we got to stop basing our history off what his story is, what the story he told when he took over the world. He decided to whitewash our history, drain it away, take it away, and we got to live with that shit. We just got to sit with it. I say, fuck that. You got me fucked up. I ain't going for it. True shit. But I appreciate y'all for coming through, though. Look at this racism in Australia. They don't like us nowhere around the world. You know what I mean? It's the same system everywhere around the world. That's what I'm trying to get across to you with this video.